My name is Zakira Shyrose Jaffer, and I'm an Islamic lecturer and also, alhamdulillah, puppeteer. I appear on Ahlulbayt TV twice a week. The driving force is to always give back because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted me, and I realize that it's something that He has given me so that I can, inshallah, inspire others. And I'm always looking forward to seeing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has next for me to serve Him. I find that the kind of person I am is truly a result of all the pain that I've been through in my life. Many times we think that if life is perfect and hunky-dory, that will make us a better person. But I've learned that one has to embrace the pain in their life, because pain is actually a motivating force. It allows us to break through the chains. It allows us to emerge victorious, inshallah, if we don't let it make us bitter. It should make us better. And for myself, when I was a child, I went through a lot of bullying, a lot of racism, which is why I became an anti-racist education counselor eventually, because I wanted to help others to never let racism get them down. And nowadays we have Islamophobia, and truly the message that I have for the students and for the ladies that I speak to is always about believing in ourselves and understanding that God doesn't make anybody imperfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes beautiful things, and it is for us to realize our potential. And so when these difficulties come in life, we learn to soothe ourselves using Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the ultimate healer, because human beings can't help us when we suffer sometimes very deeply. Even our own parents cannot be there forever, or even can't be there for that particular point in our lives. And you find comfort in God, and that's actually the real reason pain comes in our lives. And even though it happened at such a young age, I think that's exactly why Allah sent it so early, so that I could learn where the true source of power should be in my life. You know, when I get an opportunity to speak about Imam Hussein every year, it's such an incredible opportunity. Every minute counts. But I learned an important lesson just recently, that you don't need a lot of time to talk about Karbala. That even a few seconds, truly expressed in a proper way, with the true mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming from the heavens, that amazing things can happen. I met this shopkeeper in Dubai. He was a 23-year-old young man selling saris, and I didn't even want to go into that shop, and I don't know how I ended up there. And then because he had to still give me some piece of material that was left over, I ended up exchanging WhatsApp with him, WhatsApp numbers. And at night, when he was saying, you're okay, it's ready, I'll have it delivered, he asked me a question. He said, I just want to ask you one thing. Why do the Shias hit themselves? Is it because they killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam? And when I think about it, I realize he had no idea I was a Shia. And why did he ask me this out of the blue? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly knows where to direct people who sincerely ask. And so I gave him one little sentence, and I said, I can't explain to you who Hussein is until I tell you who Ali is. And I just quickly said, I talked about Prophet, one line, and his emojis were the reactions. So I talked about the Prophet. Then I talked about how Ali, at the day of Ghadir, was given that successorship. So he sent a smiley face. Then I explained about Saqifa in one sentence, and he sent a crying face. And then I talked about the betrayal, and he said, how awful, how terrible that must have been for Ali. And then, so he felt that, he said, I wish I could have done something for him, he said. And then when I said then Imam Hussein was cornered in this desert, this happened, and his emojis became the flowing tears. And then he said, who is this Yazid? I wish I could kill him. So his lanat came right there. And then he said, when is this commemorated? For I want to cry for Hussein, and I want to beat my chest in remembrance of his sacrifice. And you know what? In a few seconds of emojis, this person had gotten the faith and had come to Imam Hussein, and he wanted to shed tears for him. And I said to him, do you know that you've just become a Shia? Because all it takes is belief that Imam Ali is the successor, and to understand who the enemies are of the Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam. And he said, Ya Ali Madad. And I said, how do you know that? And he said, well, my father, even though he's a Hindu, often says this. Because we Hindus, we believe that there is a power of Ali. So we say, Ya Ali Madad when we need him. And I said, yes, because Imam Ali is for everyone. And truly, you know exactly where to access that power. And I said, if you hold the hand of Ali, you could go places. And he said, I'm ready. And I'm telling you, that man is on a path to becoming a Shia. From being a Hindu to being a Shia. And all it took was a few seconds of explaining who is Hussein. Never feel that it's futile when we're giving out those roses on the street or those hot chocolates. When you answer who is Hussein, you're unlocking a treasure for someone. And you're not alone, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala infuses barakah in those few seconds of guidance. So it was a time when I was driving from Kingston, Ontario to Toronto, which is a 2.5 hours drive. And my husband was a student. We lived in a university town. I was driving in the snow. I had 2 babies in the back seat. And I was really scared. And I knew the way home. For some reason, I took the wrong exit. And as I was taking it, I was saying, what am I doing? Now I'm going to have to go through the roads. I'm off the highway. And I was berating myself. Ended up at a traffic light. And my eyes went to a bus shelter. And I saw a woman in hijab standing at that bus shelter. And before I could stop myself, I gestured to her and I said, come. And she looked at me and I said, come on. And she came to my window and I said, let me drop you. And she actually got into my car. I'm thinking, crazy, what am I doing? What in the world am I doing? And she said to me, thank you. And it was snowing out there. So I said to her, okay, where can I drop you, sister? And she said, you know what? I have no idea how to get home. I just started a job at that mosque over there across the street, at that Islamic school there. And today's my first day here. And I'm standing at this shelter. I don't know when the next bus is coming. It's snowing out there. It's late. And I said to Allah, oh Allah, send me someone to take me home, to guide me to my way home. As she said that, of course I got chills because I realized, wow, I am the answer to someone's prayers. And no wonder I had been directed to that place. And I said to her, I'll take you home. And she said, no, take me to the next bus shelter or whatever. I said, no, I'm going to take you home. As I dropped her, I wasn't feeling great as much as how I was able to help a person. And I was a vehicle, literally, to take her from point A to point B. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses us to get things done in this world. But what truly inspired me was, wow, God, you truly listen to prayers, don't you? That when we call out in desperate moments and we say, oh Allah, a miracle, I wish somebody out of the blue would come and just take me home. Allah listens and He makes it happen. It inspired me, even though I was the way that helped somebody to have their prayers fulfilled. It inspired me to realize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listens, He uses us, and He fulfills our most grandiose and most unusual requests. You've got to just try and ask. One of the most life-changing moments in my life was when I did that walk from Najaf to Karbala. And I've written about this. It's one of the most widely read posts that I've written on Facebook, and very, very, very shared post, because I talked about how I met these Iraqi young men on the walk who tried to stop us because it was late at night, and they said, you must get a tent to sleep, otherwise you're going to be stuck. And I said, no, we want to keep walking. We feel so riled up, and they said, okay, then sister, be careful. And I said, why don't you come along and guide us? And they said, okay. And so they guided us all the way to Karbala. And the story is full of adventures. And the way we became so close to these young men. When we were on the way and we were almost in Karbala, there came a point when one of the most naughty people in the group, his name was Amir, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him a long life. He says, he saw this truck and he says, watch me. And he ran and he chased this truck. And then, as we watched in horror, he climbed onto this truck. I think it was like a petrol truck, a gasoline truck. So he climbed and literally got on top of it. And he was like, woohoo, you know, and we were like, oh my God, you're going to die. And then he jumped off and his leg got caught and he literally almost died on his way to us. He literally almost died. When he got to us, we were like, what in the world were you thinking? And you could have died, Amir. What were you doing? What were you doing? And he said, death? And then he turned to Hussein, who was one of the Iraqis, local young men. And he said to him, Hussein, you're talking about death. And then he turned to one of the Canadian boys who was with us, Zaman. And he said, Zaman, do you love life? And Zaman said, yeah, I love life. And he said, I don't love life. And we all kind of got stunned. And he said, I have no money. I have no education. Even my house is broken. I have no future. Who's going to marry me? I have nothing. I have no food. And he was laughing. He's like, why should I live? And then he turned to Hussein, the Iraqi, and he said, every day I want to die. Do you want to die, Hussein? And Hussein looked back and said, every day I want to die. And he said, but it is haram to kill ourselves. And so we continue to live. And Hussein said, yes, we continue to live. And he said, I have no reason to live, but I keep living because Allah has given me life. And you know, after that moment when I was crying because he said that, and he said, why are you crying? And I said, because you don't know what a beautiful life you have, how beautiful you are, what amazing things you have about you. You have a great future, inshallah. Later on, I realized that when we go to Karbala, it is for our selfish reasons. We want to go and say salam to Imam. We want to ask for what we want. We want to gain Jannah. And all of that definitely Imam gives to us. But there's a bigger reason Imam calls us to his land. He wants us to open our eyes and realize that those people who play host to us and who feed us and who literally take care of our lives, there were times when we were sleeping that Hussein and all these boys would stay awake at night, holding my purse, my passport and everything, and laid awake at night while we could sleep in peace, so that we wouldn't get robbed. These hosts, what do they deserve? Just, I love you? Just, I'm going to miss you, I'll pray for you? They deserve more than that. And I realized Imam Hussein alayhi salam has a bigger mission for us, because he says, is there anyone there to assist us? We've got to assist the people who are in that land, and we need to take care of all the Muslims all over the world and all the people in the world who need us, whether they're in Syria, whether they're in Bahrain, Iraq, everywhere, because there's difficulty everywhere. Let's not let the assistance to Imam be only so that we can get something out of it, but that we make the world a better place and give people a reason to live. So on a recent trip to Iran, we had the amazing fortune of going to Masjid Jamkaran. And the promise is that Imam Zamana Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahum Sharif visits, and he comes there on Tuesdays, and he comes there and sees all the people that are so devoted to him. And at any time, Imam is there to witness that. And I was so excited to take my children, and my husband was with me as well. And what happened was that we got off the bus, and we were taking pictures with the mosque in the background. And, you know, it was just such a wonderful moment. And I couldn't wait, especially for my son, to experience that spiritual awakening that happens when you go to these places. I really wanted that for him. But something strange happened. He was anxious. He was hot, very hot. And he was saying, Mommy, I feel very unwell. And I said, Inshallah, you'll be all right. And he's like, I feel nauseous. I feel my head is hurting. Like all sorts of weird things started to happen to him. And he's 18. And I know that when his comfort zone is not perfect, and if he's unwell, it's going to go downhill. I just kind of know that about my son, and mothers have that thing. And I said to my husband, I said, I think I need to get him back. And we were in Tehran, We were staying in Tehran, so I said, I need to go 2 hours back. I need to take him. He's not well, and the way he's holding his head, and he's just not well. We hadn't even entered the mosque, and my husband said, no, 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 and it was, the adhan was going on, and there was a man standing beside us. Typical Irani gentleman with a nice jacket, very beautiful face, and he had his cell phone in his hand, and he was lingering, listening to us. And I said to my husband, I need to get into a taxi. I need to leave. I feel a sense of great fear. Something's happening to Hassan. And my husband said, it's Salah time. Why don't you pray first? And I said, no, no, no. I need, something's happening to him. And we started to argue. And I said, I'll get a taxi. And the man stepped forward and he said, no taxi, no taxi, Salah, no taxi. And he was trying to explain that at this time, everybody's praying. You're not going to get a cab. And I said, no, 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 I'll get a cab. I can. And my husband and I were arguing, and the man literally tried to stop us from arguing. And he was like, no, 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 please don't fight. And he was talking to us in Farsi, trying to calm us down. At that point, I looked at my son, and my son was developing hives all over his body. Big red boils all over. He lifted his shirt, his stomach, his back. And in seconds, I see that his whole face was turning into a hideous monster. I have not seen this thing in my life ever. And I was like, something's happening to him. And Hassan said, Mom, I'm having trouble opening my eyes, because the swelling was now reaching his eyes. And from what I've learned, I know that eventually it hits your throat, and then you're not able to breathe, and you can die in seconds. He was having some kind of anaphylactic shock. Something was happening to him. And the man said, hospital, hospital. And I said, no, I need to get him into a car. He'll be fine. Like, we were arguing. And the man did something. He went somewhere. At that time, I felt complete despair. And I looked up and I said, yeah, Imam, you say that you are here in Masjid-e-Jamkaran. I don't feel your presence. It was a moment of bitterness, complete, I was in complete despair. I wouldn't say my faith had shaken. It was like, Imam, where are you? You're supposed to be here. This was supposed to be a spiritual experience for my son. But everything's going, it's going south. Where are you? The man returned with another man, and he said, let's go. He had found a taxi. It was parked with all these cars that were double parked. There was no way you could get out of that parking lot. But somehow, these guys got into the car, and we all squeezed into this car, so many of us, takes us, and there's Masjid Jamkaran Hospital right across. We get off. This young man comes with us. Doctor gives my son a shot. The young man stays with my son throughout, waits for him a half hour until that observation time is over, and on all the hives, everything went away. Hassan was looking perfectly fine. The man got us back into the taxi, took us back to Masjid Jamkaran, and deposited us back into a bus that we had come in, which was in millions of cars and buses area. There was no way. How did he even know which bus we were from? After all this was over, he put us on the bus. I turned to him and I said, God bless you, brother. May Allah keep you safe. Thank you for helping us. And he said, Inshallah, everything will be okay. And he left. When we got inside and I told the story to my mother-in-law, I said, wow. I told Imam he wasn't there. I told Imam that, I don't feel your presence. Imam had been there all the way. He had been there. He had sent someone, or maybe that was Imam himself. But before it turned into a true crisis, he was already there. And it was me. I was having trouble feeling his presence, but he was there. And truly, Imam does come to our aid when we call out to him.